In 1998, the Arizona Diamondbacks were born in the desert. Andy Benez was on the mound for their first game, which they lost 9-2, and the fans settled in for a long and arduous process. Their best-case scenario? The Miami Marlins, who stormed to a championship just 4 years after they became a franchise. It was a pipe dream. And then 2001 happened.
Bottom of the ninth. Last chance for the Diamondbacks. Down 2-1. Spencer right.
As great as that was, less than 2 years later, managing partner Jerry Cullenhella was forced to resign over financial difficulties. The team, well, it never quite reached the same heights. After winning that World Series, they've never been back, despite strong seasons in 2007 and 2011. Since Cullenhella left, they've never won the division twice in a row. They have an all-time losing record. This offseason, they lost their best player, Paul Goldschmidt, and arguably their best pitcher, Patrick Corbin. The desert needs some hope. It's time to bring it some. Hello and welcome back to another OOTP series. This time we're in OOTP20. My name is Archer Gaming, and we are, of course, taking charge of the down on their luck Arizona Diamondbacks, and I'm going to be attempting to steer them back to contention and hopefully eventually win a World Series over the course of this. Apologies for my mic quality. I just don't have my mic with me at college right now, but I'm just so excited to get back into this. I'm just going to go ahead and go with it. So let's get right into this. My owner is Ken Kendrick. You can see he's not the best owner, but he's kind of average across the board. He does want me to achieve a winning record, which, well, we'll see about that, Ken. But those are his goals. Play 500 ball this season, upgrade at catcher this season, and then keep building your team up in order to reach the playoffs in the next 4 seasons. So let's go ahead and take a look first at our roster. So this is my first time seeing the OOTP ratings for all these players. I do know a fair bit about the Diamondbacks since I did a lot of research for this series, but I'm not entirely sure how all these ratings will play out just yet because, of course, it's a new game. So we'll see how good or bad any of these guys are. Zach Godley, he looks pretty average. In general, he's kind of a back-of-the-rotation starter that can every once in a while make a pretty good start for you. Kind of up and down. Again, the control, the main factor with him. Then we have Zach Greinke, who, of course, is getting up there in age, 35. Still great stamina, though. Still really good control, and his stuff is still there for the most part. And I expect him to put in a solid shift for us. Probably not a 3.20 ERA over 200 innings, but hopefully something sort of approximating that. His salary obviously is really huge, so that may be something that we have to look at getting around in the future. Merrill Kelly, who of course was signed from the Korean baseball organization, his numbers there are actually really impressive, even though they don't look like it. Playing in the KBO is like playing all of your games in Colorado. It's pretty insane, the offensive environment over there. His ratings aren't that great. We'll see how he does. He's got a good curveball. I don't expect anything more out of him than maybe like a 4.50 ERA, and I think that's kind of pushing it. Robbie Ray, great strikeout stuff. This guy, I mean, he's pretty incredible. He doesn't have a ton of control. He doesn't have much other than just being overpowering, but you know what? I think that's kind of fine for our purposes, at least for right now. So really, we have kind of Greinke and then everybody else, and everybody else also includes Luke Weaver, who, well, he wasn't good last year. We'll put it that way, 4.95 ERA. But Luke Weaver, he's kind of a decent pitcher. There's been talk about him improving his curveball. That's something that you can see here in the ratings. We'll see how that comes off. He does have a high work ethic, so he could always turn things around a little bit. But again, a lot of these guys I'm just expecting to be mid-rotation starters. Archie Bradley used to be a starter in this organization. Now he's a reliever. He's a quite good one, so he may be a valuable trade piece, or he just may be a valuable piece in that bullpen. Andrew Chaffin, he's pretty fine. He is an extreme ground ball pitcher, so that helps him out a lot. And his control doesn't hurt him too much because he is a reliever, so he should be solid as well. Yoshihisa Hirano, again, solid relief pitcher. Our relief corps is actually very good, and Hirano especially had a 2.44 ERA. He's a little bit deceptive. We, of course, signed Greg Holland. Now, Holland didn't have a very good season last year, but he's only one season removed from a very good season with Washington, albeit over 21 innings, and he used to be very good back in Colorado. So, we could see something good out of him this season. We might not. I think he'll probably end up being somewhere in the middle, something like a 3.6 ERA, and that'll be okay because I'm not expecting super high leverage innings out of him. TJ McFarland, back of the bullpen guy. That is what it is. Jimmy Sherfy, he's kind of a young, well, he's not as young as he was, but he's still a bit of a prospect. Only had 16 innings at the major league level last year. Did very well in them, so we may be able to rely on him for a little bit more than people might think, but overall, the control makes me a little bit afraid, and I think I probably wouldn't put him top of the list for high leverage duties. I still think he's going to be pretty good for us, though. And Yohan Lopez is a little bit the same way. He's another guy that came up for a cup of coffee at the major league level last year. His personality is a little bit, at least in the game, off. So we'll see how that plays out. The game obviously likes him a lot. Huge star rating, big stuff. He may end up taking some good innings for us this year. And that brings us to the end of the pitching staff. So let's go ahead and look at our hitters, which is, I would say, probably weaker of the two. So we'll start with our catchers. Alex Avila, he had a pretty bad season, but he had a good season in Detroit the year before that. He's a backup catcher. Anything I get from him is gravy because I don't expect anything. Carson Kelly, this is a guy I've had on a lot of OOTP saves, and he's a very good defensive catcher, and I think that's what I value most in a catcher, but he also has some decent offensive ratings. If he can grow into that contact a little bit, I think we'll be looking at a very solid catcher option for a lot of years. Wilmer Flores as a first baseman, he's got decent enough ratings. His defense leaves something to be desired, but I think he'll be solid enough for us. Yasmani Tomas, yeah, this is a bench player. As much as he's shown promise in the past, I just don't think he has the hitting ability, the eye and the discipline, and the ability to avoid striking out all the time. He just doesn't have enough of that for me, so I don't expect him to get a ton of playing time. Tim LaCastro, again, kind of one of those, a guy, not a dude. He's not incredible at any one thing. He can kind of fill in a spot, but he's not going to do you too many favors. Eduardo Escobar, I actually really like, but I do think he's going to be less impressive in OOTP than he is in real life, just because, I'm not sure he's going to be able to replicate an 852 OPS, honestly. That said, he's pretty versatile. He's good enough with the bat. I'm pretty happy with him. Jake Lamb, of course, is going to have to take on a lot of the offensive responsibility that Paul Goldschmidt left behind. He had a 655 OPS last year, but I think he's a lot better than that. I see him eventually as a first baseman, maybe right now as a first baseman. Great power, not a ton else, although he can take a walk every once in a while. Nick Ahmed, again, one of those guys that can kind of fill in. The thing about him, though, is that he has very good defense, so I'll be looking to keep him at shortstop. He does have a Gold Glove award, And, he's not awful with the bat. So as long as you can get good defense with a decent bat, that's usually a worthwhile trade-off. David Peralta, good solid hitter. Put up an 868 OPS last year, which is pretty good. He has a personality class prankster, which actually can be pretty important on kind of a team hovering around 500 that's going to take a lot of losses, take some stress off the guys. He does a job for me in left field. I think he's one of our better players, actually. Jared Dyson, all about the speed and defense. It's been that way since Kansas City, even when he went to Seattle and now with Arizona. I don't see myself getting a ton out of him. He's a place that we need to upgrade, but can't do much about it right now. And he is 34, so how long do those legs really have? Who knows? Ketel Marte. So he's an interesting case. Used to be a shortstop. Wasn't particularly great at it. Might be actually better at center field. A 768 OPS isn't bad, especially if he's going to move to center field. We have a lot of guys who are going to be good enough with the bat, but not spectacular. It's going to be a very interesting season. Socrates Brito, another one of these guys that came up for a cup of coffee at the end of last year. He's been very good in the minor leagues. I don't know if it can translate to the majors, but he does have good defense, so at least we'll have that. And then Steven Souza Jr., who really one of the kind of Jake Lamb type players, home run, bit of discipline, can take a walk, but mostly there to provide you with some power. And then we're back around. So those are our guys on the major league roster. Of course, Taijuan Walker is injured. I'm not sure what he is at this point, and he's going to be out for 4 months, so I don't feel the need to talk about him too much. And then Silvino Bronco is, another one of those guys that's kind of bounced back and forth between the major leagues and the minors, but I think that he's actually going to be okay. If anything, we have too many good relievers, which is a nice problem to have, and hopefully we can make some good trades. In the minor leagues, it's not great. Pavin Smith is among our best prospects. I think that's the best way to characterize him. And then there's Wilderd Patino, who, again, has some flaws that are pretty outstanding. That said, in real life, I know the top prospects generally are somebody like Jazz Chisholm, who doesn't look very good in game, but I'm sure we'll maybe see a little bit more out of him as time goes on. Somebody like John Duplantier, who is pretty close to the major leagues. I'm not sure how much he can give us, and his ratings don't look great in this game, but somebody to look forward to. And then somebody like a Dalton Varsho, who really looks bad according to my scout, but looks a lot better according to OSA. And that is one thing I'll be looking at, is whether my scout needs replacing. I think he's got some questionable things to say about a lot of these players, and he varies pretty heavily with OSA, which is sometimes a good thing, sometimes not a good thing. But I think that brings us to just about the end of just kind of setting up this series. My goals for the series mainly is going to be just to win a championship. That's our goal. Get back there. The Diamondbacks haven't been in so long, and I think they deserve it. Like I said in the intro, the desert needs some hope, and that's what I'm here to do. So I will be back next episode. We'll play maybe our first game and see what changes I've made to the opening day roster, and then we will probably take it all the way to my amateur draft. So thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to hit that like button for the algorithms, and I will see you guys next time.